Welcome to the Innovators Club for Women webinar channel, where innovation meets inspiration. I am the CEO and founder, Katie Cupstis. So welcome to this webinar on how to use AI in your business to capture the eyes of investors and funding, and really understanding AI and how to implement that into your business yourself. So Melinda Gates, we all know Melinda Gates, is investing, and it's probably the wrong word. I shouldn't have used the word investing. I really should have used donating $150 million into women in the workplace. So as we know, Melinda and Bill and Melinda Gates have vowed to give away almost their entire fortune. So this is part of it. She is really passionate about women in business and women in the workplace, understanding AI and using that to their advantage. I've really been focusing on small business is at the core of who I am. I grew up in small business. Both my parents owned businesses. When they split up, when I was a young teen, my mom was out on her own, had her own small business. So women in business to me is incredibly important. And we all know how busy women are. We're constantly multitasking. So if we can make it easier on ourselves in general, it's going to make life that much better. So I know that it's very confusing, right? So everybody is most familiar with the OpenAI ChatGPT. However, if you are using ChatGPT and ChatGPT alone, it's going to end up being a situation where the investors know that you're using ChatGPT, and that's just, how it's going to be. So how do you incorporate all three of these? And the one on the right is Gemini. How do you incorporate this to create the perfect pitch deck? So Canva is great for images. If you don't already have Canva, I highly recommend getting it. There is a free version. The paid version is not that expensive. You could use it for how long you need if you want the pro, and then just cancel it. And then, obviously for creating the slides, you can create a presentation. Canva is a must with a startup. Using the prompts for ChatGPT is the most important thing. You have to train the AI and be very specific with it. So when I am helping someone create a pitch deck, I am very specific with the ChatGPT for every single slide. You cannot just say, write me a pitch deck. It has to be very specific to that slide and what you're looking for. Gemini will to some degree write a pitch deck for you, but it's going to be very bare bones. So if you've never done a pitch deck before, ever, this is a really great place to start. And then you can use the other two to really fill in the blanks. This comes back to you may need a combination of all three. And there's a lot of different options out there. I want you to not get fooled with a lot of these paid promotional type platforms that exist. And this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm teaching you how to use it. So I think one out there is called Jasper. There's a lot of different, I call it an overlay. So it's an overlay for the ChatGPT where they've gone into one of these coders, or just different companies have gone into ChatGPT and they've created their own apps using ChatGPT. All they've done is use these prompts, whatever prompt it is, to create their own app, so to speak, and now they're charging for it. So there are ways to do it without having to pay a high monthly fee. Coursera is awesome. So get familiar with all the AI platforms so you're ahead of the curve. My husband actually took the Gemini course on how to create your own pitch deck on Gemini and Google. I think I would just Google it. to be quite honest. And I do believe it was about $50 to pay for the Coursera that gives you an official Google certification. I mean, 50 bucks is so inexpensive. So, and that's why I'm driving home how you can do these things on your own without overspending. Some of the things you're going to have to spend on, but some of the things you just won't. So, this was taken specifically from a venture capitalist on what he expects to see on a pitch deck. So, the basics always stay about the same. Sometimes the words change a little bit because it might be what's in at the moment, whatever the buzzword happens to be. But for the most part, it's going to stay the same. So the first slide is going to be your introduction. This is a really important slide. So you may want to take a picture of this. And at the end of the webinar, there will be an opportunity to purchase both ebooks, and you'll have a full pitch deck ebook and you'll have a full AI ebook. So introduction, problem, solution, market, product, validation and or traction, team, competition, financial projections, and the asks. So what are these things? The introduction, I think it's on the next slide, where really you just want to keep it concise. You want to keep it clean looking. You don't want a lot of words on each slide. And I believe the next slide goes into that. So we'll leave that for that. The problem, whatever your product solves, whatever the problem is that you found, and then the next slide would be whatever the product solves. The market, so whatever market you're looking for, I always recommend, you really looking at the market and seeing if your product is something that's out there and it's just an improvement upon something else that's out there, because that is going to sell better. I realize everybody thinks they have a novel idea. The biggest problem with that is that you have to now create an audience. You now have to teach these people why they need your product. If it's a product they're using every day, I don't know, say it's a new version of a razor, something that they're using every day anyway, but your product is a little improved upon the old version, your product's already going to sell because everybody needs a razor. If it's a product that it's never been used before, you're really going to have to drive home that marketing, and marketing is expensive. So then you go into description about the product. It is very helpful if you have a product, at least a prototype. You really need to have something, and it could be what we call a garage prototype. It doesn't have to be, an engineered prototype, but the more you have, the more likely you will end up with funding. Validation and or traction. So validation could be, did you get feedback on this product? This is something that ICW does offer within the company itself. So say you have a patent, but you don't have a product. Say you worked with an event company or something like that, and they really raked you over the coals, and you don't have anything. You do have something. If you have a utility patent and that patent is still valid, you do have something. So what we work on with our clients is to get that market validation. So we will create a form, send that form around to whoever that market may be to get that validation. And that is what investors are going to want to see, for whether it be licensing, or whether you're going to a product development company and saying, maybe you could give me X amount of dollars towards this because there is such a need for this product. And then, of course, your team. They're going to want to see that it's more than just you. And you're going to need to have some sort of expertise in the field. And if you don't, you're going to want to find people that do have expertise. Who's your competition? Kind of like what we talked about before. What are your financial projections? And what are your asks? So most often, if you're in pre-seed, it means that you're just getting started. Maybe you're working with a product development company. Maybe you have intellectual property filed, and maybe you've already spent anywhere between $50,000 and $150,000. That would be pre-seed, and you would be looking to ask to get to the next level, whatever that may be. So the ask would be, I'm looking for $50,000. I'm looking for 75. Okay, so this is the intro. This is the intro slide that I was talking about. And this is what Airbnb used in their original pitch deck. I pulled this straight from there. So this is Airbnb with a tagline that's very descriptive. It says exactly what it is. Book rooms with locals rather than hotels. You look at this and you know exactly what they offer. You're booking a room with somebody who lives locally. You're not booking a room with a hotel, but you're still renting the space. That's perfect and ideal and exactly what you want. Um, we have something with trademarks where it cannot be descriptive. That's why an Airbnb is not necessarily descriptive. It has to be non-descriptive to get the trademark, but that's why a tagline is really important. And it's perfect for the intro slide. This is the one, which is really funny, right? So this is why we don't use pictures of people when we're doing AI. First of all, the fingers are just crazy. It looks like some sort of an alien every time. I posted on my social media a picture of me, my AI version. And the only reason I did that, because I don't use filters, I don't do any of that stuff. Half the time I don't know how to use filters. My kids do. But the AI version, I was able to figure that out through Meta. The only reason I posted it was because I was doing this webinar. However, I would not recommend using people's faces or pictures of people with AI. There are great ways to do it. The AI just has not figured it out yet. So there are definitely don'ts. This is an obvious don't. Another don't would be, don't just type into ChatGPT, write me a pitch deck on whatever it is, even if you're prompting what the product is and prompting the functionality and giving it certain details. You do not want to pull word for word from ChatGPT. You need to be extremely specific. So think of the AI like a toddler that you have to teach how to speak. You really need to be specific and say, this needs bullet points. Only write X amount of words on each slide, and that will really help you a lot. And then you can manipulate it and you can change words out and make it as you want it. So these are the do's, right? We talked a little bit about this in the beginning. And this is something that the investor research. So I'm going to let Zach talk a little bit about this at the end with what he did when he did his research on, each individual military professional. But this is why we are so fortunate to live in this moment, because there's no reason why you cannot have a pitch deck that mirrors exactly what investors are looking for. So, sometimes it's really hard when you are working on a startup, you're working on a product, and you get so focused on all those things. You're thinking really on a larger scale, and I want you to think smaller. So I want you to look to see who exactly you're pitching to. Look up investors online. Talk to people if you know who your investors are. Do research on them and put their background, put their LinkedIn, and that's why the LinkedIn logo is here. Put their LinkedIn into ChatGPT and prompt it with what they're looking for in a pitch deck and see what comes up. And use that information. This is going to be a great research tool for creating the pitch deck, and obviously Canva for the pitch deck photos. So as I mentioned before, and I keep stressing this, for now, human connection to AI is a must. Investors will definitely know if you've used ChatGPT only for the deck. Until AI is really fully trained and it is still the Wild West, it's you have to have that human connection. So this was a really awesome opportunity. My husband and I had to attend this AI for Good Global Impact Forum here in Philadelphia. And it was in cooperation with Global Silicon Valley, which is basically some of the biggest, if not the biggest investors in the world, in cooperation with Penn State University. My son was able to present the startup that he works for at this event. And really the biggest takeaway from the event itself, it was a 3-day event with different breakout sessions, seminars. It's really about AI is here to stay, whether we like it or not, kind of like with COVID. And I think I started to talk about small business in the beginning of this webinar. So with COVID, those businesses, especially restaurants, and I grew up in the restaurant business, those restaurants that did not pivot and figure out a better way ended up shutting down. And some of them have still not reopened. AI is here to stay. It's almost like when we had horse-drawn carriages, and then all of a sudden we had an engine for a vehicle. We're not going back every day to the horse-drawn carriages. It's just not going to happen because AI has made our life that much easier. It is very scary. I am not going to discount that. But that's why it's so important to stay ahead of the curve. And that's why Melinda Gates is so passionate about AI and making sure that women specifically are educated on all aspects of artificial intelligence. And if you have a product, making sure that you can integrate AI to some degree. Even if you have a product, say it's a consumer goods product, and you're just like, well, this isn't a tech product, I can't figure out how to incorporate AI. You need to incorporate it into your website. So, and that should be touched on in your deck, because investors are going to want to see that you have the most up-to-date information and the most up-to-date technologies really implemented into your business. So this is really what I just said. Incorporating AI into your product or website lets investors know that you're ready for the future and that you're investable. Otherwise, I mean, it's terrible to say, but your product will become obsolete. If you are not ready for the future, and that's just how it's going to end up being. It's not what I want. It's not what a lot of people want. It's just, it's here to stay. And we need to embrace it and move forward with it. And that's why I'm here to say you do not have to be a computer science major to understand this. My son is a perfect example of that. He was brought into the startup for the ethical side of AI, which is a really wonderful thing. And that's what we need to keep pushing, the ethics of AI and making sure that it's done the right way and it's put into the right hands, and that the right people fully know how to do it. So Zach, can you just talk a little bit about sort of what we talked about yesterday, as far as what you did, as far as plugging information into ChatGPT from LinkedIn and how beneficial that could be, for founders looking for funding?
Yeah, definitely. So if I was thinking I could maybe even share my screen.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
I have all this stuff open here. Okay, so excuse me. So there's this new website called Relevance AI. It's not ChatGPT. It runs off ChatGPT, but think of it as it works with all the different AI websites together. Basically, this website allows you to make your own workers in the most basic sense. So, for example, let's say, like my mom was saying, let's say I wanted to make a worker that just takes all the information from people's LinkedIn's related to my product or business and like scours the entirety of LinkedIn. I could ask my agent uh do that and it will go out and do that for me and I'll just have all that information at the tip of my finger whenever I really want. Now, the difficulty with this website is you need to essentially figure out how to make agents and also you need to, there's also like a paying factor to it as well. So, for example, I'll show you this. So, I made this guy, he's a financial advisor. So, if I go to him, uh, I make $3,000 a year and I want to retire at, well, it's usually a little bit, let's say $60,000 a year, I'll retire at 50. My income is set to increase by 5%, $5,000 over the next 10 years. I could ask it something simple like that. Tells me it's working away. And it should come back to me with some ideas about how I can essentially achieve this goal I have with my income and all of that. And also down here in the corner, if you guys see, it says I have 100 left. That's credits. So yeah, as you see, just tick down 5 credits. So there we go. So thank you for updated information. So it tells me this. I was doing some stuff before, that's why it has like some of this other information. But it basically just gave me a model over the next all the way up until 2056 about how I should deal with my financials. So instead of having to go to an actual accountant or financial advisor in real life and pay them, I was able to just make one off the bat and have it tell me all this information. So that's basically what this thing can do. And there's already given agents on this website as well, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, like Suni, the intercom support agent, the prospect researcher, lifecycle marketer, uh, email follow-up. So if you ever have like a situation where you need to just basic day-to-day things, you can use these guys to help figure it out. But a lot of these guys also require a paywall to go through as well. I think the paywall can go up to 20. I mean, the paywall can go very pricey, up to $500 if you're doing it for your full business. But that's more if you literally, if your business is just these guys, because you can make your entire business just these AI agents, which is kind of crazy to think about. But you could have no employees and just run these guys running your marketing, running your advertisement, your research, even phone calls you could have them do. You could have them do all these different types of things and just with the click of buttons, and they will come back and talk to you about what they found. So that is the essential of like this. And now, what I did over the summer, I basically, my job has almost been taken by these little agent guys. But on ChatGPT itself, what I would do to scrape LinkedIn profiles and stuff like that, I would go out, I would go like, give, give me a list of people in the DoD involved in the Air Force. I take these guys, I go through, build up LinkedIn profiles by typing in specific prompts because technically what my job is called is prompt engineering, which allows you to manually go through and figure out all the information. Like my mom was said, you basically have to baby feed the information sometimes because ChatGPT can be a little glitchy, but overall, it is a very useful tool, especially if you want to get info and data out of people. And it's way easier than me going like looking up DoD and the Air Force on Google because it's going to give me a website. I have to go through the website, I have to do this and that. This will give me the info instantly. I don't know if that covers what I need to cover, but I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, no, that was really helpful. Can you just tell them, like basically how, how this could help replace once their company is sort of up and running, how it could, bring in people to replace people. Even if you just had an admin running the whole show, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple to replace people, which is sad and upsetting, but it's something that a lot of companies will probably end up doing once they realize the real power of this tool. So let's say I'm an admin of a giant, or not even a giant. Let's say I am an inventor and I need marketers, researchers, things like that. Uh, Piece by piece, I could use this guy, Lima the lifecycle marketer. I hired Lima the lifecycle marketer, which is an agent. It sends out all the advertisements. It makes up my marketing for my company. And that agent then communicates with this agent, the Apla prospect researcher. It does research into where my invention would do the best in this country, this state, this city. And it goes around thinking about the best places I could advertise my entire invention. So these two talk to each other for like 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And by the time they're done talking to each other, they've done about what a actual human could have done in maybe a days of work, but they have figured out how to do it within like 5, 10 minutes. So obviously way better. And technically speaking, if you do the full upgraded version, you're paying these agents like probably around like $6 an hour. So even below minimum wage. I mean, a real marketer might require a $70,000 salary a year, benefits, stuff like that. You are really just hiring a actual robot to do your thing, and you're paying them nothing but this credits to the governing like website relevance AI. But they set up their entire website to be able to like have people do this stuff and use their bots to replace workers essentially, which is basically the essence of what this website is for. But this is the future of what people will be using and doing, unless any laws get made against it. So far, it's in the clear. I think it will be continuing to be used uh pretty prominently because you know,
Can you just speak briefly to, because I know there's agents here obviously that you can hire, so to speak, right? But you had also talked about creating your own agents that would work to specifically whatever you're looking to do, correct? Or whatever job you're looking to fill. And you could almost you're really training the AI to do the job of that person
yeah,
as
so
opposed to finding them on here because it's sort of a twofold situation, right? You can find them on here if there's ones already created and then you pay them, but you can also create your own, right?
yeah. So you could definitely make your own agent. The only issue with that is that there is a pretty large skill gap in being able to make your own agent. There is no code involved of any of this. I'm still learning how to make my own agent. I mean, my boss told me like he has said like this week, go through, watch hours and hours of videos to try to figure out how to do this. But once you figure out how to do it, he said it will be the best skill in the next like coming years that you could have because you'll be able to basically make anyone for anything. But I know somewhat of the basics. So let's say I wanted to make a new agent. I would just click new agent, enter agent name, and agent description. Will help me find a new car. Core instructions. This is where you can basically give this essentially works as ChatGPT in the sense that you need to be very, very specific. So in the core instructions, if you were to go through and want to help this person figure out how to find a new car, you would write a series of very, very, very specific instructions because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Uh, and because that usually will take like a solid 25 minutes to really type through the very specifics. Because this almost works like it's almost like the brain of the bot here. This core instructions. It doesn't know what it's supposed to do. This is like it's like manual role model. And then the flow builder, this is like putting in the prompts yourself and like what to do. So the instructions would be like if I ask for, you know, if I ask what car was made in the year 2000 that I want, help me find it. And then there's even conditionals like this where you could tell your robot to go back to data that it has to help find that. So like I would then go like use the knowledge you have to help find this info. So that basically is just like varied prompts to help like tighten up the profile to like how you would want it to go. But it has lots of different things. And my best advice to anyone that wants to try to get into this is look up YouTube videos on how to do it. I watched a 35, 40-minute video yesterday on how like the basics of all of this. And it was very, very helpful on trying to figure out all of this. And I basically just went through with it and did what he did.
Where's the video on YouTube?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I can. It's made by this guy. I don't know if you want me to spend too much time. Uh, it was this right here. This here. I don't know if I can throw this in the chat or something, but yeah, I mean, that is the essence of AI. And I think it could be very, very helpful if you're trying to do research and build out your business. It's
Yeah,
what,
this is like the most cutting edge there is. Uh, a lot of software developer kids that are students in school are not learning this stuff. Computer science, my nephew's a computer science major at Pitt. He's not learning this stuff. This is brand new. It is super cutting edge. And Zach has been really fortunate to have been given this opportunity. And like I said, you don't have to be well versed in computer science to do it. I mean, obviously it helps, right? But that's why it's really almost mining. It's sort of like mining the Wild West, or anything like that. So many years back. It's just sort of figuring it out on your own, trial and error, until you get it the right way. And once you do, it will not only help your business, but it could also make you incredibly marketable to, sell these things or take advantage of these things for your own company and business. So I want to be mindful of everyone's time. And if you could just email Barb the link to the ebooks in case you want to purchase, and anyone else that purchases the ebooks after the webinar today, if you're not an official client, if you are an official client, you'll get the ebooks with no charge. Otherwise, always feel free to reach out. We're here to support you and your business. As always, take advantage of the ebooks that currently live on our website. How to Write Your Own Provisional Patent, that was written by Todd, my husband, former patent examiner at the USPTO. I have had women use this tool to write their own provisional patents, and some of them have received licensing agreements on the back end. And that's after, of course, filing a non-provisional and all of those things. But Take advantage of what we have here. This is very much a mission-driven organization. We are here to support you. And don't be afraid of AI. It's here to stay, and you can do it. I know you can. Have a great rest of your day. For more information and to watch our webinars in full, visit our website, innovatorsclubforwomen.org, and join as a member to build your startup for full success.